Hello everyone, my name is Zach Zevius, and today we're going to be talking about the game I just made. Specifically, we're going to be doing what's called a post-mortem, basically saying, where we're at, what happened, my thoughts on the game and its release and its, the opinions of it. I waited this long before I did it because I wanted to get all the reviews out and have people, you know, let me know exactly how they thought the game was and everything else. 1 second, hold on. Cut this out. Okay, yeah, I'm still recording. Good. And yeah, we're gonna be going through this. I made a quick presentation for it, so we can kind of go over everything and just do an overall, analysis of where I'm at, and just kind of give some context. So we're gonna get started. So, table of contents. This is kind of what we're going to be talking about. Basic overview of both myself and the game, what I set out to do with this game, the time frame I gave myself, how I balanced it with my day job, what I actually accomplished after what I set out to do, and the response I took to both the release, the criticism, and also what we're going to do going forward. This was a bit of a difficult one to make, and I'm going to get into that when we get to those last, that second to last section. There's a lot to go over. So a bit about myself. Hello everyone. My full name is actually Zachary Kirchens. I am a 22-year-old game developer and student from Texas. I'm actually a computer science student, not game development. I do game development for fun. It's kind of a personal hobby of mine. I've done it ever since I was a kid, so I've gradually just continued doing it just out of sheer love for the craft. There's a lot of mushy gushy stories about me in games from when I was a kid, so I might tell those one day. That'd be interesting. So the first game I ever made was in middle school, and I think I've talked about this before, but if not, I'm going to talk about that eventually as well. It was just a couple simple games in Blender. 2.49b, which was the one I used at the time, the one that was out at the time. The last game before this one that I made, that I released, that I'll let everybody play, was a platformer in the Blender game engine, Blender 2.74, which is depreciated now, which means that if you download the source files for my game, you actually have to go ahead and you have to get an older version of Blender to get it to run. Because Blender changed their API for their game engine so many times that it basically destroyed that old game. So you actually have to go ahead and either get a full executable, or you have to go ahead and if you have the source code, you have to use the old version of Blender. And other than that, I hadn't done any real work in Unity before. Like, this was my first serious Unity game, which explains quite a bit, actually. And we're gonna get into that. So, what even is this game? Megaman Adventure is a fan game created by myself for the Sonic Amateur Games Expo in 2008. The Sonic Amateur Games Expo, for those who are uninitiated, is the premier gaming expo for Sonic fan games. Happens once every year, every so often. Sometimes they don't do it a year, sometimes they do. But for the most part, it's been happening annually for the past couple of years, and every year there's really cool games that come out of it, such as Spark the Electric Jester, Freedom Planet, that got its start in Sage, Sonic Before and After the sequel, which were premier fan games everyone loves, came out there, and actually the creators of Sonic Mania actually cut their teeth on these expos years ago. As a matter of fact, the engine that they made before they made the engine for Sonic Mania, who made it. I think it was like Taxman or I don't remember. If I'm getting all this wrong, please forgive me. And my mind's kind of all over the place at the moment, which we're gonna get into in a bit. Those guys actually made an engine beforehand that was still in use today, and there were actually a few games, if I remember correctly, that were using that engine this year. So that's saying something. Along with fan hacks of Mania, so it's you get both versions of the engine there. This, like I said before, was designed, created as my first game in Unity. Quite a bit to bite off, I might say. It was pretty intense. Before this, I made games in Blender, which, again, I already talked about. And I want to stress this was a one-man team thing. I tried to get other people involved, which we're going to get into. The most I was able to do was get one person to go ahead and donate a model. And, I do appreciate that. Thank you, Dragon Soul. You were wonderful. Thank you for donating your Met model. I wish there was more I could do with it, but I ran out of time. That's kind of the going theme of this game, actually. This going theme of this game is I ran out of time. So, what I set out to do. What I wanted to do in Unity was to make a full 3D action-adventure game with keyboard, mouse, controller support, the whole 9 yards, and have it be fully explorable, basically open-world style, with a 3D camera similar to Super Mario 64. 64. God, like I said, I'm all over the place right now. A lot. I have a lot to talk about with this one. With a gameplay similar to Ratchet and Clank. In terms of like gunplay, multiple enemies, health pickups, etc. Because I love Ratchet and Clank. It's something very near and dear to my heart, which I'll get into later on. At least 3 stages. I wanted to have multiple stages. Didn't want it just to be a one-trick pony. I wanted you to be able to go and explore multiple areas, and get to go ahead and see different things, and allow me to go ahead and try drastically different themes, and just see how it'll go. A boss fight with a character and characterization for that boss, so reasons for the boss exists, things like that. Basically, I wanted you to be able to fight an enemy that you would know about. I don't know. It's kind of weird. The initial idea for this was pretty interesting, so that's pretty fun. Polished enough that people want to play it. So I wanted the game to be something that it wouldn't hurt to go through the entire game, and you might even want to go through it a second time. Basically, replayability that was, at the very least, a medium. Maybe not super high, but definitely a medium. A bit of story. Storytelling is kind of my weak suit when it comes to game development. At least it is right now. But I did want to try to tell some form of a story. And, just to see if I could. And this is what I consider the bare minimum. This is what I consider to be the absolute minimum of what I needed to do in order to get this game released and be proud of it. So, biting off more than I can chew. I'm very bad about this. So when I got started developing, I thought I could do all of this, but I ended up wanting to do a lot more. And I started chasing after other ideas during development. There's still code in my game that didn't get released. That's about the 2D sections. I wanted to make a 2D Megaman section, classic style. That was going to be more fun. Have the levels have more diverse themes, like the island level that you start off with. That was originally a pirate level, not just a pirate level, but a pirate amusement park level, because the entire game was supposed to take place in an amusement park. As a matter of fact, I had an old version of the logo that had roller coasters in the background, because I wanted it to be, like an amusement park. Like you would start at the center and you go to each different level, and they all have a different theme. Like, so you have a pirate theme, you have a laser tag theme, you have a horror theme, and each robot master for each section, you'd fight and you'd go to their level and you just have a good old time. And each enemy would also have a theme for that one. And I was trying to get people on board to try to help me out with this. And I was doing all of this while still learning Unity. Down to the wire, I was watching Unity tutorials. And, oh boy. So, the total development time I had was about 3 months. From the end of May to the end of August. The game was originally something completely different for 2 months, and had to be retrofit to Megaman. So, the previous slide I had, let me see real quick. This slide right here is a bit disingenuous because originally I had a completely different style of gameplay, and I talked about this in another video. But essentially, this was going to be a game that was Fairly Odd Parents. And when Butch Hartman kind of had his breakdown, I don't know how to phrase that. But when Butch Hartman had his thingamajig, I had to change my game. That gave me a week before Sage, by the way, like before the footage for Sage came out, in order for me to go ahead and add a new character. So that was interesting. So I had to be retrofit to Mega Man. And under normal circumstances, this still wouldn't be that bad. It's 3 months, isn't a lot for development time, but it can be if depending on what you're doing. That's where game work balance comes in. So to start off with, and this is kind of it. I don't make any money off my games yet. I'm hoping to one day, possibly to go ahead and start paying off this crippling student loan debt. But right now, I'm not making any games off. Right now, I'm not making any money off my games. And it was pretty rough because I had to work. And right now was the busiest time of the year at my work. I work public IT for Geek Squad, Best Buy. And summer, very busy all the time, like all the time. People had all the time off. We're a college town, so we're literally right next to a university. So during the summer, people were bringing in their old machines that were broken, and we just had to go fix them. And I'm not one to say no to work. My dad raised me to understand that work comes first. You make your money, you go ahead and pay for things, so that you don't starve, you don't make your friends starve, you don't make your family starve, you don't owe anybody anything. Which I broke that. Sorry, Dad. I have college loans. Oops. But I had to balance all of that as well as getting ready for the new school year. I had to talk to counselors, get classes signed up, make sure my student loans were all in order, and it was pretty rough. On top of that, family stuff doesn't end either. I'm very much a person who loves his family, and I spent some time. I took the time. I put the project away to go visit family, to go ahead and because this silly fan game does not take precedence over family. It doesn't. I chose, rather than spend more time polishing, to spend time with my brother who's in the military, my big sister who has a wonderful daughter who is my awesome niece who I love very much, and I spent time doing that. There was no family emergency, but I consider family very important to me. So when they were down here, I took the time. I made sure that I put everything aside, just regardless of how busy I was, to see them. And I had to balance all of that together with school, with work, and with just general other things. So right. So what I actually accomplished. The movement works ish. There is analog movement. And the movement of the character actually scales with the movement of the stick. So you can actually, when you move Mega Man with an analog stick, he actually does respond similarly. The camera was fully functional. There was collision on the camera, which needs to be tweaked out, but it does work. You can rotate the camera with the right analog stick. You can go against a wall and it will zoom in so it doesn't clip through the wall. There's a few bugs with that, but for the most part, it works. And the boss fight does exist. For those of you who sat through the game and got all the way to the end, there is a boss fight. He does have physics. He does have, actual rough attacks. And, he actually is playable. And he does have a story with him. And you can actually, when you're about to go up to him, you actually get to meet the boss fight. Which... I didn't make him super interesting throughout the entire game, but he does exist. There's multiple different enemy types with different levels of health. I have 3 total enemy types. I have the I should probably say 4. I don't know if the Spiketies count as an extra enemy type, but I at least have 3. I have the standard grunts that will chase you, the gun grunts that move slower, but they fire at you. And I have the boss fight, who I consider an enemy type, even though you only fight him once. There are pickups. There's an interesting story about the pickups. So, like I said before, this game was originally something else. And those pickups are literally, for the most part, unchanged from the code that it used to be. The pickups, what ended up happening was the pickups were designed originally just to be like coins. Collect 100 of them, you get an extra life. Since I did away with the lives system, the pickups were just there to pick up, and I already have them coded into the enemies and the crates and stuff like that. So what I had to do was I had to figure out, literally, at the last second what I wanted to do with the pickups, and I decided to code them similar to Ratchet and Clank. Not Ratchet and Clank, sorry, Jack and Daxter, like the Green Echo from the first game. Hold on 1 second. So, like the Green Echo in the first Jack and Daxter game, if you collect 50 of the pickups, you get an extra health boost. For every 50 pieces you get a health boost. And, that was just something I had to do at the last second. It worked. It gave you the ability to restore your health. So the game was actually, had actual gameplay, which made me happy. I did get all 3 stages done. And that's more or less something kind of a hangover from the previous game, because the previous game had 3 stages. So I just I replaced one of the stages with a different one. And I made a 4th stage for the boss fight. So, I tweaked them all too. Like the first island you go on was completely created from scratch for this game. I modeled it in Blender, textured it, stuff like that. So that's why the texture mapping on that's actually not horrible, not great, but not horrible. The second one, the Island at Night and the Evil Base. Oh, the Island at Night's more of a Mayan one theme anyway. Both of those I had in the last game. The Evil Base was actually originally a Pac-Man themed level, but I retrofitted it. I changed the colors around and added a skybox, and now it's an evil base. It's an evil base. You fight the enemy there. He's so evil. He's so evil. He's got like 5 eyes. Oh, so evil. And then I just threw together a quick arena style base for the bad guy. Final fight for the bad guy. And for what I accomplished in the time I had, because I only had like a month to go and make it actually a Mega Man game, I think I did okay. There's a lot of other things too, and I actually didn't list this before, but there's a pause menu, there's a start menu. The game actually pauses. The game is actually, if you want to get away from it, you can press start and you can actually leave. So it's doable. It's actually something. So yeah, that's nice. What I didn't accomplish. Oh boy. So there's only one boss fight. The game does not feel like a Ratchet and Clank game. It feels like a watered down version of a Ratchet and Clank game, but it does not feel like Ratchet and Clank. And the most important thing I did not accomplish was polish. The game was not as polished as I wanted it to be. Many people were not playing the game all the way through. Part of me thinks, the skeptical side of me thinks that people didn't play the entire game through and ergo did not review the game when they finished. Like, they just said fuck it and they just left it alone, which would explain why I have 2 5-star reviews and that's about it. But we're about to get into that. So why didn't I finish them? Well, to begin with, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. When you retrofit a game, you kind of are stuck with the old game source code, so that was interesting. And on top of that, like I said, I was learning Unity the entire time, so I would learn something, try to implement it, learn something else, try to implement it, all on a deadline. I ran out of time because I didn't balance everything properly. On days I had off, I didn't devote all my time to it. And for the most part, I had to make do with what I had the last second. So, fun little fact, the cutscenes, quote-unquote, that are in the game, those were all coded within about an hour. Like, I literally had to code those within an hour. And I had to basically just throw them together. The images you see on those are literally just renders in Blender of the characters and just thrown on there. Because I wanted to have a story and I wanted to have cutscenes and stuff like that. And I had to make do. I had to make do. For somebody who had to make do, it's not bad. But definitely could have been better. So, the response to the release. The game was released in time for the showcase. They played an older version on the stream. They currently, at the moment of this moment of me recording, it has 273 views on the Sage website with 2 5-star reviews, which I've already said I'm not entirely sure those are 100% accurate, but it's nice regardless. And Some Call Me Johnny gave the game a go as well. That's kind of the catalyst for this video. Actually, I'm going to talk about that here in a bit. It's the last game on his day 2 of his playthrough. Response to release part 2. Well, on the Sage website, the results are favorable but not perfect. They're overshadowed by a lot of better games. Honestly and truthfully, they're better games. They are better than my game, and that is perfectly fine. They're more together. They're more of a package. You click on them, you download them, you play them. They're more fun. They're enjoyable. Then came Johnny's. He played my game last on his stream, which is understandable. And he they ran out of time on the stream, which they were very thankful for. I read some of the things on the stream notes because I watched the YouTube video on it, and which was the Twitch stream, but recorded for YouTube. And some of the things people were saying about it during the stream were pretty intense. Not gonna lie, it's pretty hardcore. It's rough to read. As a matter of fact, when I started seeing some of the initial reaction, I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to watch the stream. I wanted to just kind of pretend it didn't exist, but I knew that I had to. I'm a big fan of Some Call Me Johnny, actually, as a matter of fact. I actually saw the video in my subscriptions because I've been following him for a while, and he's definitely somebody whose opinion I have a lot of respect for, which makes this all the more painful. But at the same time, it had to be said. So, the game wasn't good. For a fan game, it's okay. For a fan game, it's okay. For a fan game, it's in the realm of fan games, it works okay. It's run of the mill. It's decent, but compared to what I wanted it to be, it's nowhere close. And that became extremely apparent during the Some Call Me Johnny playthrough. He understandably was not too impressed with the product that I had released. And he he basically just said, hey, he wasn't having fun with it. And if you're not having fun with the game, what's the point? You know what I mean? And it was rough. It's rough even saying this right now, actually. And it's pretty painful. Because I have a lot of respect for this gentleman, and my hard work didn't pay off. I'm having my Sonic 06 moment, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, taking criticism, there's a lot to fix in this game. And I learned this. I learned this the hard way. There's a lot to fix in this game. A lot. The graphics aren't the best. The enemy placement isn't the best. It's rushed, and you can tell. And features that I need to have going forward. These are features that are a must, because these are common complaints. Audio control. There needs to be some way to control the audio. On top of that, I need to have sensitivity control. One of the things that was happening with Some Call Me Johnny playthrough was that the camera was tilting up. The analog stick was drifting. And I don't know if that's his controller or if that's my gameplay, because I didn't experience it in my playthroughs, but that needs to be addressed. That needs to be fixed. And that's just another thing to add to the list, add to the pile, of things that need to be remedied. So, going forward, I have to move forward. I have to make another game. When you have a game like this that didn't do what you wanted it to, the first response that goes through your head is, well, fuck it. It's not worth it. I missed my chance. And that's not the case. It's rough and it's painful. The things I wanted to do, I didn't do right. But I have to keep going. I have to keep moving forward with this. Because if this is my best game, if this is my magnum opus, if this is the final game I make, I mean, what the hell kind of legacy am I leaving behind? What kind of game legacy is it that the best I could do was a game with a short development time that released on a fan game website that even then not a lot of people were interested in. So I have to keep moving. I have to go beyond this. I have to go even further beyond. To quote Dragon Ball, which is funny. That's actually one of my favorite videos by this gentleman. The Sonic 3 one where he does the Super Saiyan whatever. Long development times. That was stupid of me to try to do all of this in 3 months. I bit off way more than I can chew, and I try to chew it regardless. I need more emphasis on polished experience versus features. There was a moment in time where I could have polished the game more versus adding more features. I wanted to add the cutscenes so bad that I forgot to go make sure that the audio was good, to make sure that the video was good, to make sure the graphics were good, and to just to ensure that the game was better made. And because of this, the entire project suffered, and that is on me. That is definitely on me. That is 100% on me. I need to go ahead and fix that. Because as much as features are nice to have, they aren't everything. Like, as much as features are really cool to have in the game, their polish is what's gonna end at the end of the day. How the game is received is not going to be based on how many levels you have, how many features you have, how intense your boss fight is, how good your music is. It's going to be tested entirely on the polish. It's going to be, it's the difference between Sonic 06 and Crash 2 Insanity. Crash 2 Insanity and Sonic 06 had very similar game development cycles. Sonic 06 decided to push through with more features. Crash 2 Insanity decided to push through with more polish. And I went the 06 route, and it shows. And that was a mistake. And I'm going to work harder and make better games in the future. And that's why I'm making this video. I'm going to be making this video and uploading it to the game developer subreddit. I'm also going to be adding it to my Sage one, and possibly even sending it to some Call Me Johnny directly, to say thank you to him directly for pointing out some major issues I have in my project and that I need to move forward on. And this is going to be helping other people out as well, to go ahead and basically let people know my perspective on this, and hopefully make better games than I did. Because it's possible. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. There's no more on the presentation at all. I want to thank you for watching. If you stuck around this long, thank you. I really mean that. It makes me very happy to see people like my content. At least some people do. And I'm going to do more videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.